Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays. With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
This is what I have to work with, everyone.
And Sean Alley.
Like I said, I was just thirsty.
Oh, boy.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. It's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. Hey, listen, this is a audio recording from a Live Scoops episode that we did. Myself, Mr. Large and in Charge, Sean Alley, Mr. Don Brunt from Double Barreled Pictures, Neil Chadwick, RAD Chad Roberts, and Brett Seibert. Now, if you don't want to listen to this, you can get over to our YouTube channel. Just look it up. It's titled Scoops Live. It's non-U.S. citizens being classed here in the U.S. and the recent FITASC letter that went out. This was a live broadcast we did. We captured the audio from it and released it because there's a lot of people that wanted to listen to it through the podcast. The audio on this isn't great because it was live streamed, but we did the best we could to clean it up. Bear with us, but check this out. And as always, one of the things that I forgot to mention during the show, our lovely sponsors. Each and every week, our sponsors support us and help bring you guys these shows. So please support them. Right down in the show description is links to all their websites. Kolar Arms, thank you very much to Kolar. Fiocchi USA, we love us some Fiocchi ammo. Ranger, check out those new hyper shots, man. You're going to love them. Atlas Traps, contact me if you're interested in anything from Atlas Traps or long range equipment. And Neil Chadwick himself is on the show. Rhino Chokes, man, I'm telling you what, you cannot go wrong with Rhino Chokes. Hard hitting knockdown power. I mean, they're awesome. And now they're all over the world, even in Europe. Gun and Trophy Insurance, cannot thank Mr. Cole Cushman enough. He's a big supporter of the show. And I'm telling you what, if you haven't checked him out yet, you got to get over to Gun and Trophy Insurance. Get a quote for your firearms. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Not only in the coverage, but also in the premium. It's unbelievable how good it is. Score Chaser, love us some Score Chaser. We couldn't sign up for tournaments here in the U.S. without them. Bear Pelt, it's not just your vest, it's your new uniform. Odo Pro Technologies, got some new technology coming out from them. We're going to hear from them soon. El Jefe Energy, I'm telling you what, man, it's not like the energy drinks you're used to with all the crap in them. This is good stuff, and the flavor is amazing. Midway USA, new to the show. They are a partner with us, and we're going to be talking to them soon. Lots of big stuff coming with them. Slick Products, save 10% off your order. Go right down in the show description. And as well as Taconic Distilleries, cannot forget about Taconic, man. When the tournament's over, it's time for one more shot with Taconic. So both Taconic, Slick Products, and Ranger all have 10% discounts. Just use the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout. If you follow the link in the show description for Slick Products, it will automatically discount the products at checkout. So check them out, and let's go on to the show.
The Dead Pair.
Welcome, everyone. We have got quite the round table here tonight. Of course, Mr. Large in Charge, fresh off a giant ship. What's up, Sean?
Hey, man. Good to be back. Hope everybody's doing good.
Yes, sir. The man that's just as good at snapping pictures as he is pulling a trigger, Mr. Don Brunt from Double Barreled. What's up, Don?
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I know it's, 1:30 in the morning there or 2 o'clock in the morning there now?
Just gone one here, yeah.
Oh, gee, many Christmas.
Little late.
Mr. Neil Chadwick. What's up, Neil?
Hey, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. Thank you for being here. Mr. RAD Chad Roberts, the West Coast assassin. What's up, Chad?
Hey, what's up, everybody in Shooter Land and everybody on the panel?
And Mr. Brett Seibert from Northbrook. What's up, Brett? How are you, sir?
I'm great, Jason. Good to see you all on here tonight.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Lots of big things to discuss here. Before we get started, Sean, you had something you wanted to remind everybody of?
Yeah, Neil, it's been a minute. I think the last time we talked was end of last year. How's everything going with the junior entry for the World Sporting Giveaway? You guys working on that or getting a name soon?
My plan is to get where are we? End of February. We'll get to just into February. And for anybody that doesn't know, there's a $500 credit in registration at World English for a junior shooter that puts their name forward. Email you, Jason. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll pick a name out, and whoever wins it will get $500 towards their entries. Obviously, it'll be more than one entry. So hopefully it can go to a deserving young lad or young girl.
Well, awesome idea, and great for you to be so generous. That was a great idea. Thanks for doing that.
That's very cool of you, Neil. I do have one other thing too. I just spoke to Max McCarthy yesterday from RE Ranger. The release of the Hypershot glasses has been pushed back just slightly. They got a big shipment in of all those cases. There's really nice cases that the new glasses come in, and all the foam was cut wrong. So a little bit delayed on that. So everybody stay tuned. Another thing too, I want to clarify. I've tried to put it out on social media, and I tried to include it in the last podcast. A little bit of clarification on the dead pair blast. So a lot of people are thinking that their scores have to compete East versus West. That's not the case. It's that East versus West is just a title. Each tournament is scored and paid on its own individually. There's been a lot of confusion on that, so just wanted to clarify that. The only thing we are going to have is an East versus West option. It's a $20 option. But other than that, all the class money, all the prizes, everything are all, they're each own individual tournament. So, speaking of the dead pair blast, spoke with Tin Can. Popcorn is going to be at the South Carolina round in December. So that's kind of cool. Sean, you seem to enjoy that popcorn as much as I do.
Well, never pass up a good salty snack. Trust me. I always enjoy those, especially with a cold beverage. Works really well together. You got it's been a minute since I checked.
Snack.
Salty snack. Chad, I know where you're headed. Stop it.
You're in Ohio in the snow. It happens.
Yeah. Is that what it is? You got a show coming out tomorrow with Kevin and Michael, don't you? It's been a minute since we talked to him.
Yeah, he's got a new app called the Claymaster app, and we had him and the guy that helped him build it, Scott Winstead, on. But Kevin was with me for the whole show, kind of co-hosted the thing with me, and it's going to be pretty funny. I think a lot of people will like that episode. But he is putting out a new app, and so that's what that discussion was about. It'll be out tomorrow morning. You guys make sure and check that out. Also. Listen, I had a ton of people come up to me. We are not in any way, shape, or form associated with Dead Pair Gear or DPG. They had a booth set up at down at Jack Link's, and everybody thought it was us. It's not us. If it doesn't say Dead Pair Podcast, it's not us. So anyway, I just want to get that out there. One last thing before we dive into all this. Tonight, we are giving away a bottle of Taconic Distillery. This is their pre-made old fashioned. It's made with their maple bourbon. We're going to give this bottle away. Sean, do you want to explain the contest details on this?
Yeah, it's real easy. If you can count, you can win. All you need to do is figure out how many times everybody says the word FITASC tonight, and throw us an email or a message. We'll put your name in a drawing, and the lucky winner gets to take home that bottle.
FITASC.
Just put that in the mail.
Yep.
Is that American FITASC or is that FITASC?
Just the word FITASC.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, obviously you got to be 21. But just email us your answers, and we'll put everybody's name that gets it right in a hat, and I'll draw one of them and ship you a bottle of Taconic pre-made old fashioned. So, all right. So the first topic tonight is classification of non-U.S. citizens competing in the U.S. We had a situation, local big tournament, well, local to me. Obviously it paid a lot of money. And when you're paying a lot of money, those tournaments demand attention. And we had a lot of people from overseas come over and join us, which is awesome. Love it. Love the competition. Problem is we had some people in some classes that should have been in higher classes, and it caused a lot of problems. Neil, I know you dealt with this firsthand with the NSCA, and I think you said you were working with the CPSA trying to figure it out as the event was going on. Can you share something with us? What the resolve was on it?
Well, throw me in at the deep end, would you?
Well, I didn't mean to throw you in the deep end. I just know you heard a lot about it, and I mean, does the NSCA have an official stance on it yet, or is that still being determined? Or
no, the official stance of the NSCA, and back me up, Brett, if I'm wrong, that there's several avenues that could have taken place. First of all, it's not necessarily the NSCA that should rule what class a foreign shooter should be in. It raises several questions when a shoot's underway. It's on a Saturday or a Sunday. Who are you going to get hold of? I know that there's a lot of us that are accessible. Brett's always accessible. I'm always accessible. But once a shoot's underway, how do you determine whether a person is in the right class or the wrong class? A lot of the onus goes down then to shoot management, to the club owner, where they have the ability to question the person in question or the people in question. And there's always the known ability rule as to what class somebody should be in. So some of the foreign countries don't have an organization that always records classes. Some countries don't have classes. So it becomes difficult then when, what class are you in? I'm in D class. Prove me wrong.
right.
I believe we have or had a rule that they were, if they did have a classification and came from out of the country, they were upclassed one class. Is that correct?
That's correct, Brett. I've got the rule in front of me. If when they join as a foreign joiner for NSCA, the rule reads that a person who purchases a regular foreign membership will be placed one class higher than the highest registered class in sporting or parcours de chasse, which they don't keep records for, whichever is higher in their country's association. So let's take an easy one. If you shoot in the UK and you're a member of the CPSA and you're in AA class, you come over here, you're in master class. I mean, that's easy.
Right.
The problem comes when the citizenship of the country doesn't keep records or does not have a class system for that particular shooter or shooters.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these countries, the highest class they have is A class. So if they came over here, technically, they should be in our highest class, which is master, but instead they say, well, I was A, they get put in AA, right?
Name me a country that's got that their top class is A class.
This is just all I'm asking. I don't know. See,
there you go.
So Neil, what I would say to that is if you came from the UK and you only shoot FITASC, you're going to, if you ask one of the best shooters in the UK, what class are you in FITASC? They're in A class because that's all there is. There is no AA in FITASC in the UK because our classification system is different, shall we say.
Yeah.
So again, so A class goes to AA, but if you're A class and George would be in A class or Richard or whatever would be in A class, in which case they're not AA shooters. They're treble A shooters, which is masterclass. So it sort of falls down a little bit there.
We even have a rule at many of our state shoots that if you don't have a certain number of targets registered, you're put in either up a class or, I mean, I've known people they've put right into master class that were in just because they didn't have any targets, enough targets registered that year. They'd have a 500 or 1,000, target count that had to be shot before the state shoot. That should be fairly easy to implement nationally, I would think, something like that.
Well, you've got penalty class anyway, haven't you? Which is that pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much it.
I guess that, to me, and lies the problem is like, where is the vetting or verification process? Because there really isn't any. If you take like what Don's saying, if a guy only shoots FITASC and he's an A, so I'm confused by that because I thought in FITASC it was either open or concurrent. There was no classes.
So if you look at like a World FITASC or a European or whatever, then there's no classes. But in the UK, FITASC is administered by a different body to the CPSA, and they run a class system of A through D. So, our classification system is somewhat bizarre in that you've got sporting, FITASC, super sporting, sport trap, compact, and you could theoretically be in a different class in each of those disciplines.
Okay.
Whereas obviously with you guys, if you can shoot a big crosser well, you're in AA or AAA or whatever across everything. So you're not comparing like for like, sadly. And if we're different, then if you then go and look at the Spanish, the Dutch, the Italians, the Germans, whatever, the chances are that their system, as Neil has said, is very different again. So it just becomes really difficult to have a comprehensive plan that fits everybody.
Right.
And I guess the question I would have is like, is it also difficult to discern like were these shooters doing this dishonestly, or is it just because they didn't know better?
I would agree. I think there's always some people who just make a mistake or it just happens by accident. And then potentially there are some people who are, how should I put it, cultivating some results in order to gain a result out of it financially. Two different people coming from two different places with two different motives. Yeah. Do you want to lump everybody together?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was my point.
Just put them all in master class. Call it quits.
Brett, I wrote down a few things and a few suggestions, and that was one of mine. Is just put everybody straight into masterclass for 500 targets. Yeah, they shoot 500 targets in masterclass, and then they go back into a class.
I think I think if it's the same person I'm thinking about it, the Jack links that they actually had an NSCA history in AA that the classification people, because I think Don, you forwarded me the information on it, that they had enough of a history that the AA was, or they'd shot in enough events in AA that headquarters thought they were AA, which could have just meant that they were misclassified, the first 500 or 1,000 targets they'd shot in the country. I don't know.
Neil?
Yeah. I looked into that, Brett, and I didn't want to get into naming names, and I'm not going to name names, but the person in question, his shoot history on the NSCA had 0 targets.
Well,
and in that classification, his classification on that was 0. I mean, it was a C class. We looked,
which is where we put a new member.
Yeah, that's correct. And he had 0 targets registered with the NSCA. Okay. We looked and we actually found a result from a shoot abroad, and he came in something like 65th. And that was the only shoot that we could find. However, and I'll open up the can of worms, Don forwarded me a Facebook page or an Instagram page where this particular person had won eight national titles in FITASC and compact sporting.
Definitely C class. Yeah.
So that brings me down to rule B, that somebody could have stepped up there, you included, Dom, an NSCA club, state association, national delegate, shooter, or member of the executive council has the right to request a known ability review of a shooter.
Interesting.
The known ability is not used enough. I mean, I've used it here at Northbrook several times, and I'd say 90% of the time that people are fine with it, and some people are even happy about it. But a relatively new shooter that's talented and just hasn't shot much. Hey, dude, you're in AA.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's not a bad thing.
And you get into other things, okay, so, the case in question, the guy shot his first tournament or his first event. Well, then if he's halfway through the tournament, do you go up to him and go, oh, we're just moving you up to master class. All your previous results don't count now. Do we do that?
Okay with it.
What a surprise. I mean, personally, I think it's a difficult decision to make, but I think also you have to sort of look a little bit at what's going on. Is someone who comes in and they shoot one event well, but they might shoot other events fairly averagely, is someone who's had a good day. If someone comes in and potentially, they podium or they place in everything they shoot, then you can look at them, and as you would do at an event here or one of your domestic events, you'd look at them and go, oh, it looks like the guy's in the wrong class. How you then deal with that is another question.
If you've won 8 national championships, unless you live in Rhodesia or something and it's not a big deal, then you kind of know that you're a contender at a shoot. And if you're underclassed, I think the sportsmanlike thing to do would be to go into registration and say, no, I don't belong in this class.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other things you could say to people is, until you've got established targets, then if you've come over here just to enjoy the experience and to enjoy the shoot, then until you've got a certain number of registered targets, then you can't play options or you're shooting targets only. That doesn't stop them participating. They can still place in class, but they're not going to potentially win money.
Yeah, I guess in that instance, you would hope that somebody would be honest and come forth, but you're going to have that kind of stuff happen, I guess.
I have a question, Don, and I know, Brett, you've done this, and Don, you do it all the time, and I have not. So can you explain to the shooterland people out there that if you're a master class shooter like myself and I go over to Europe and shoot, they put me in AA, and I'm not considered in the senior class, correct? At first? Or how does that? I've seen that where I've seen like Theo and those guys be placed in whatever that class is, AA, which is there a reason for that?
Because that's the highest class. That's the highest class in the CPSA, isn't it, Don?
Well, no. Treble A is the highest class.
Yeah.
And so
Triple A, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Triple A. So there's no master, but it's basically AA, Treble A. Okay, so I would, if you came across RAD, then I would expect you to be in Treble A.
Okay, but I've seen before, like when I follow the Worlds and stuff, people shoot some events the week before the Worlds, and I see them in AA and not Triple A.
You will do because in the UK, the Treble A classification is only used in majors, i.e., English Open, British Open, Worlds.
Gotcha.
So
just for everybody out there, they need to understand that if they just decide to go overseas and shoot, they're not penalizing you by making you go down. It's just that's where you're going to end. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in NSCA skeet. They only have AA unless you're at a zone shoot or above.
Right.
Then they have
Triple A. That's right.
But also, I would say, it's not a problem that's exclusively with you guys. If you look at some of the results from the World English last year, there were some people there that you look at and you think, okay, are you really in the right class? Probably not. So it's not a problem that just you guys have.
Well, credit to the NSCA. Everybody that shoots here, their records are, public knowledge. I mean, anybody can go look anybody up and find them. If you take a couple of the individuals at this last shoot that we're referring to, we couldn't find anything on them, right? So, I guess my question would be, how do we implement some kind of a verification process moving forward? I mean, obviously, just taking their word for it isn't going to work. I mean, I don't. Yeah, Neil, go ahead.
And we will look at that as a rules committee thing, because there's a couple of holes in that. And I think it needs to be worded something like, unless you can be verified into a class or known ability, you're going to be in master class.
Yeah, that would make
that would be fair. That would be fair.
You can even give them, as Don said, the opportunity to shoot for targets only. If you're from a country that doesn't have classes, then you don't care.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to affect your classification at home because you don't have one.
Yeah, but I think in this instance, though, Brett, I mean, the Jack Lynx is a phenomenal shoot with a bunch of money in it. And that's what drew people in from abroad to earn some money, win some money.
Without a doubt.
I mean, it was amazing the amount of money that was being paid out. I looked down the list and I went, well, I should have gone down there. I might have won $1 or $2, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not every shoot. And I think Jack Lynx sets itself apart because of the money that they put in. Doug Vine does a brilliant job with that shoot down there. And like any shoot, when you get a large cash purse, take the shoots out over in the Far East, not the Far East, the Middle East, Fujairah and that. I mean, that people came out woodwork to go and shoot. I don't think there was any classes, Don, over there, was there?
No, there was no class there. It was literally first past the post. So that is sort of an irrelevant argument when you're in that situation.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing, it's almost like you would want to have, as you already alluded to, some sort of almost like a questionnaire that says, have you won a major event in your home country? Yes, no. Have you shot for your national team? I think that's, when you see people that shoot in a national team and they're in AA, and that's we're talking sort of senior men's veterans, ladies juniors, maybe not so much of an issue because they might not be a masterclass shooter, but they still might make the team. But if you're looking at the men's and the veterans, pretty much everyone who makes a national team in that respect is going to have to be the equivalent of AAA masterclass.
Makes sense. I mean, you brought up a good point, Neil. When you have a shoot like Jack Lynx with that kind of money, and as we move forward, these shoots that are putting up more and more money, we're going to get more and more of this problem, right? I mean, if you take a regional that doesn't have a purse anywhere near that size, I don't think you're going to have this problem.
No.
But, that kind of money demands attention, right? So, well, that's funny.
I'm surprised we haven't got any question. Oh, there we go.
David Rodolvich wants to know why there's 2 Chads. That's too much RAD. I don't know how there's 2 Chads.
Like a Florida election with all those Chads.
Yeah.
Scary.
Well, I mean, I have a feeling our next topic is going to generate all kind of stuff, but I thought for sure that there would be more interest in this, but, so you're working on a way to fix it. That's the most important thing.
I just think people need to understand that, if you're going to travel and you're going to spend that kind of time and money to go to a big shoot like that, just kind of have everything together. You may not know how to navigate the property and everything might be new to you, but have a good understanding of where you're supposed to be. So it's, you're not getting into a situation where you might win and get everything pulled away from you. You know what I mean? So, and that goes from people not paying attention to how many punches they have going in the shoot and it hasn't updated on the system yet. And, they sneak in at their AA when they've got enough points to, or punches to go up in the Masters. So, all that, I think this is just a lesson. When there's money on the line, people will do a lot of things. And I bet my life on it. These people were like, hey, I'm going to go and try to get into a class that I can be competitive in, which is, I guess, is fair. But, is it fair to the people that are going there correctly because they have, known ability through, the system we can see what everybody's capable of. So I just think, just make sure anybody out there that you're paying attention to, especially if you're going overseas and you can't speak English, or you vice versa, you go overseas like me, and I wouldn't be able to communicate with some of those guys. And, I've shot enough world championships here with refs that don't speak English very well. You got to have your shit together, kind of. So you get yelled at real quick, especially with my mouth. So, you got to be careful.
You could just not mail the checks too. That would be a good option.
So is it something that
you? Hey Neil, I was going to ask
hold on,
the Nationals, because it's such a big event. I mean, you think that this topic has been broached before, or do you not really see that kind of a problem at Nationals?
I've never, in all my time there, not that I'm aware of, and Brett, you've been there as much as I have. I have not seen a shooter reclassified at Nationals because they were in the wrong class.
I don't recall seeing that either. And I think maybe part of that's that it's at headquarters, and they have the resources and they have the staff there the whole week too, to maybe look into that stuff and maybe take a little more time with it.
Yeah.
So Neil, just a question, and I don't know whether you know the ins and outs of it. So if a Brit, for example, is coming over to the States, is there a database hookup between the NSCA and CPSA automatically, or is that done on a by shooter basis?
By shooter basis.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. If you come across and you register, you're going to put yourself down as in the CPSA as what, A or AA or AAA?
So I'm A class in the UK.
Okay, so you would be then classed as AA here.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
yeah.
So that works. And going back to the Nationals things, there's very, very few. I mean, very few people. The New Zealand people that came over last year that I met, obviously they had never shot NSCA registered targets, so they didn't have a history. But the New Zealand, when I forget what they said their class were, they both ended up in master class.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where a country sort of has records of the number of targets shot, a classification system, whether it be similar to ours or different, such as the CPSA that has a classification system for every discipline, at least you've got a starting point to start working out what class they're in from.
Yeah. I think ideally it would be great if, Nikki or whoever at HQ is processing it and they press a button and it comes out and it says yes or no, rather than actually have to go digging, because you don't want to be putting a big admin burden on anyone.
Yeah, but where do you dig from, though, Don? I mean, the event that we're talking about, Nikki, myself, we spent a lot of time trying to find something that was definitive proof that this guy should have been in a different class than he was actually in. And it wasn't until the last day when you sent me on the phone the list of accomplishments that everybody went, oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, there was nothing that NSCA headquarters could do looking on databases or anything like that was going to bring that up to the front where we could have acted upon it any sooner.
Yeah, and it is going to be difficult, but whatever decision you guys make at HQ, it needs to be something that fits, it solves the problem, or at least mediates the problem, but also that it doesn't make people feel unwelcome if they're coming there for the right reasons to enjoy a shoot.
True. And that's one of the things that you got to be careful. I mean, you don't want to make a mistake and upclass somebody when in actual fact they shouldn't be, because they're going to feel as though they're picked upon, they've wasted all their money traveling overseas and stuff like that. The last time, there's one more paragraph that I want to read to you that gives another avenue for somebody to be up class, I'm going to call it. So this is F. A shooter may also be reclassified to a higher class by shoot officials based on their known ability. This reclassification will be for that event only, and the shooter will return to her original class after the event, with one exception. If the shooter is awarded punches, then it goes into punches from the class that you're in. If you get enough punches, you could go up another class. So that again puts the ability of shoot management to look at that and see the comments that people are making at the shoot. They're on site. NSCA staff are not necessarily on site. So it does give the shoot operator, the club manager, the shoot manager, the ability to look at that person and make a decision whether they go up in class or not. So there's several catches there where we can get somebody that's in the wrong class put into the correct class, but not all of them are looked at. You know, it's all very well to sit here and go, well, you know, this guy was in the wrong class. Well, yeah, there's several avenues there where things could have been done to move him if he indeed should have been moved.
Yeah. Question about that, Neil. I don't know if it's in the rules or if it's just blatant common sense. So you take that event, Jack Links, and there's 20 events within that event, right?
Yeah.
Super sporting, prelim, 3 different prelims, all sort of stuff. Is it the shoot management can catch something and reclassify him before he starts an event, or is it once he's signed up, that's it for the whole tournament?
Well, no, you can do that at any time. Okay. Like in the NSCA rulebook, when they talk about an event, they're talking about the event number. Okay. So that's every event at your event. So I mean, there's nothing in there that says you can't even do it retroactively. I don't think you have to do it before the shoot's over.
Yeah.
But I think if somebody shot a prelim and you decided while they were shooting the main that they were going to win their class by 20 targets, you could go back and reclassify them. I wouldn't have an issue doing that.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, I think it's important that, you know, there were a bunch of people from elsewhere other than the States who went to Jack Links, but the vast majority went just to go and have a great time. I don't think there was many people that were there as a percentage of those non-US shooters who went there who were effectively, you know, looking to be a bit of a raider. I don't think there was a lot of that. And if you look at someone in there, they haven't spent a fortune on options, then you can be pretty confident that they're not expecting to go in there and grab a bunch of cash.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want this to sound, I don't want it to sound bad or misconstrued, because, you know, as a shooter, if you're going to a competition, you want as much good competition as you can possibly get, and I think they are all welcome here. It's just we need to make sure they're shooting like class. You know, I mean, if you're a C class shooter and you got somebody that's a AA somewhere else shooting in your class, you're kind of climbing up a big mountain. So try and beat them.
Yeah.
David said something here. He said, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Who's to say the best shooter from any other country should be in master class in the U.S.? I think we just defined that.
Well, it's just
Neil.
That's just
Neil
a
said
stupid
that.
question. David Rabinowicz.
Stupid question.
That's David being David, surely.
Yes,
I like it though. He's got class. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's very true. You could be the top class in Azerbaijan and be a class shooter here, because you know there is a lot of distinction between the different countries and the level of competitiveness and shooters.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Steve Everett says, if you come from a country that does not keep records and you want to shoot for money, you will shoot masterclass. Well, that's what we're
true.
Yeah,
what we're trying to determine here.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'd go with Steve on that one.
Let's put Steve on the rules committee.
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah, targets only masterclass.
What does Does anybody else, and I'm opening this up for people that are watching too, anybody else got any questions or comments on the classification thing before we move on from that? No? All right. Okay, here we go. The big one, FITASC. Do you guys want me to put this letter up on the screen, or do I need to? Or everybody saw the letter that was circulated. I'm assuming. Anybody hasn't, I can pop it up real quick. Why don't Brett, since you were the host club that was going to hold the Grand Prix, why don't you tell your side of things as they broke down for us, if you would, please, sir?
Well, we at Northbrook, we were awarded the American FITASC Grand Prix. We're going to hold it in September on Labor Day, and in, I believe, February. And a little later in March, the NSCA and the CPSA agreed to sanction a World Super Sporting Championship, which is going to be an ongoing shoot. Would be going to the CPSA next year, or in 2027. And the FITASC powers that be took exception to us hosting the two events together, and gave us the option to either separate the shoots or relinquish the Grand Prix. As everybody knows, just hosting a Grand Prix as a standalone event in the United States is just not very feasible unless you're just wanting to host a club and host your friends for a shoot. You might get 150 shooters, and maybe you could pay for the shoot. Otherwise, the only successful Grand Prix are paired with a regional or a large state shoot, and things like that. And it's their shoot, and I suppose it's their right to pull it. We responded and said, well, we'll relinquish the shoot. It's not that important to our cause here. We want to host the World Super Sporting. And they've referred to Super Sporting in the past, as recent as over a year ago. We had a little conversation with them, as they referred to Super Sporting as an illegal copy of FITASC, and citing the fact that we shot singles in Super Sporting as they do in FITASC, and use multiple machines. And we had thought, on our executive council and Mike Hampton and our FITASC refs had several discussions with them, and FITASC wanted to develop basically the same game and call it club sporting, for something not different at all to be hosted at FITASC events. And the verbal assurance we had was that you do yours and we'll do ours, and we don't care. And it was almost a sort of an obtuse way to get us to license them with Super Sporting by them claiming it, we thought. And and we didn't. We just thought we had an agreement, and that was that. I think the real fuss was they thought that the World Super Sporting Championship would overshadow their Grand Prix. They view the Grand Prix probably as a little more of a glamorous shoot than we do. So, I mean, we just sent them a letter back, almost immediately, a couple days later, saying, reschedule your shoot somewhere else. We'll just have another event. And we made another event, called it the Northbrook Cup, kept the squatting the same, kept the registration the same, but returned the $40 FITASC fee per shooter to the shooters. And the ultimate result was we got 40 new shooters and lost 4 shooters from the event. So, their loss, but their party as far as scheduling a Grand Prix, as far as I'm concerned. Silly, it's stupid, and it's not good for the sport. We're all just trying to grow the sport. We're trying to host the best event we can for the most shooters and have our friends over for a party. And it shouldn't be protectionist in my mind. And we should all be working toward the same ends, growing the sport and having good events.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that's the goal of this podcast, is grow the sport and help any way we could. I thought it was important to discuss this, and especially with you I appreciate you coming on, Brett, being the host club, because you're coming straight from the fire on it, right? So, is there any, and I'm asking both you, Brett, and Neil, is there any official statement or stance from the NSCA on this? I'm just curious. I don't know if anything's been said or not.
The NSCA did respond to our letter to FITASC and agreed with our take on it and said, we agree with Northbrook that it's we're not going to have the Grand Prix, and we disagree with your characterization of super sporting as an illegal version of FITASC. I don't know how the FITASC organization has some kind of strange beliefs that I think they literally think that they own the phrase World Championship. I think they think that they do literally think that they own the word sporting. We've had that discussion. I don't know why they think that, but they think that, and that's their position.
Let's go back a little bit. Let's get a little bit of history behind this so that we can all understand what a bunch of crooks they are. Okay? The super sporting started in the UK by John Bidwell in about 83. That's 1983, not 1883, just for clarification.
You were a sub-junior then.
He said it, not me.
It was introduced into either the English Open or the British Open on a couple of stands, and John can verify this, in either 84 or 85. From then, John had a couple of shoots where he did put 3 machines, throw singles, and it sort of moved along until 2021, Don, when CPSA adopted it as a registered event, correct?
Yeah.
Here in the States, we first threw super sporting at nationals in 2011. And I think Brett will back me up. It picked up really probably 1995 to 1996 and grew through the end of the 90s, which then didn't force us, but that's why we included it in nationals for the first time in 2011. All this bullshit, and it's just bullshit from FITASC, has come around since they visited Game Unlimited. Pete Malloy had the World FITASC in 2024, correct?
Yes.
When the FITASC people, Monsieur Palankas and the rest of them came over, Pete had several setups of Supersport in the side games. Obviously, the main event was the World Championships. Pete had several courses of Supersport set up, and I think they looked at that and went, oh, there's a lot of people shooting this. Everybody loves it, and we know that it's growing. People love to shoot Supersporting. It's at that point then that the board then of FITASC decided unilaterally that Supersporting was a knockoff of FITASC Sporting. Why weren't they looking during the 90s? Why weren't they looking during the 2010s? I mean, were they?
They were busy stealing 5-stand then, Neil.
Yeah. Well, they stole 5-stand in the early 90s and called it something stupid like compact because they spell it with a K on the end instead of CT. So although some people say compact, it's compact. But that's another story then. Ray Foreman invented or designed 5-stand in 83 in Canada. He lives in Canada. And it was shot at a few places in Canada for those few years up to 89. And he initially designed it where there was no menus. So you didn't know where the targets were coming from, but everybody got the same 25 targets. in about 89, when Mr. Hampton Sr. was involved, he said he got him to put menus up so at least you know what you were shooting. If you look back through the records, funnily enough, in the same year, Monsieur Palancas said he invented compact. Well, duh. In 91, it was then adopted by FITASC as one of their official disciplines. So I think we could stand our ground if we sent them a letter saying that they were copying five stand. And
interestingly, too, I think in 91 they adopted it in their minutes as a FITASC competition, and also didn't throw an event until 1994, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah.
So even later.
Yeah.
But it's just a hugely popular sport. It's almost everyone's favorite shooting game in the States, and I know it's very popular in England. It's growing like crazy, and it deserves a world championship.
Yeah, and Brett, it's a shame really that they've taken this stance, because, like you said, if the three associations had got together with the rest of the world, the NSCA, CPSA, and FITASC, it could have easily been a worldwide event and had world championships that could have gone around. I mean, but them taking the stance that they've taken of it's my way or the highway. Well, we're not like that, and I applaud the NSCA and the CPSA for standing their ground and going, F you, FITASC, we're going to do what we want.
Right. Yeah, I think everybody I've talked to, including Ian and everyone in England, and at the NSCA, very supportive of the event and looking forward to it growing.
Yeah. The worst part is, and I don't know if anybody read the end of that letter, and it alluded to it, that the FITASC Management Committee has decided that no FITASC certified collaborator, referee, competition secretary, and official course designer is authorized to work the super sporting event, otherwise they'll be sanctioned. That's just just bullshit. Why do you penalize the referees that spend a lot of time, effort going to these shoots? And the referees are the backbone of a lot of these shoots. Why are you going to penalize them and say that you can't shoot, that you can't referee FITASC anymore just because I go and referee super sporting?
It's crazy, and the funny part is none of the referees care. they don't. I mean, they don't care. The shooters don't care. It's just it only. So when we canceled the shoot, we had over 200 people signed up for the Grand Prix, which this being the latest Grand Prix of the year, and it was even the Grand Prix, the World Cup points for this wouldn't even count till 2027.
Yeah.
For the World Cup standings, and we had over 200, which was 50 more than any of the other two Grand Prix scheduled in the country. So they took what would have been their largest Grand Prix and canceled it.
Yeah.
And the resulting revenue, even if you want to look at it in a revenue aspect, it's just bad business, bad PR, and bad decision, and in my book.
Well, what is that? Oh no!
Somebody just sent that to me, and I don't know who it was, but it's from 847 area code. It's a cartoon characterization. It says, "Will super sporting be the game that ends FITASC sporting globally?" And there's a picture of Monsieur Palancas on the front there with his in a compromising position, put it like that.
Oh boy.
I love it. I'm going to send it to you.
Let's see here. Scott says, what is the ETA on creation of American FITASC? I think we kind of have that with AFS, right?
No. Don't go there, Jason.
Well, I'm just addressing the question that was asked.
I think when you look at all the sports and you say super sporting is a copy of something because there's singles, I guess then you have to claim ATA trap. You have to claim NSSA skeet. All of these sports are a group of ladies or gentlemen, 4 or 5 of them, shooting some clay targets from a specific spot and a specific trajectory. All these games are the same, just in too many respects for one to be a copy of the other.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is a competitor. Like when I go to an event, if I'm going to travel across the country and go to a shoot somewhere, I don't want to just shoot 50 targets in one day. I mean, as Americans, we shoot 50 targets warming up. We want to be able to shoot multiple events, and I don't know. It seems like that's, if you're going to have a FITASC, I'm asking the question, am I reading that correct in that if it's going to be a world FITASC shoot, they only want FITASC thrown at the event?
Preferably, they insist actually in the contract that be the only event on Sunday.
Okay.
So, like if you do have side events, they have to end Saturday. I mean, they want, and okay, the World FITASC, they want that day. You only shoot 50 targets your last day. There's big opening ceremonies, stuff like that. It actually makes sense. If you're looking at, I mean, honestly, I took a quick look at all of the FITASC Grand Prix sporting targets last year. These are shoots from, some of them are 30 or 40 competitors. I think the South African Grand Prix had 40 shooters, all the way up to the World FITASC that had 1,200, 1,300, whatever shooters. They probably, by my quick estimate, threw about 1.5 million targets last year in World Cup, events, the entire FITASC. Most big clubs in the United States throw 5 or 6 million targets a year. So, I mean, they claim to be 80 countries or whatever and 17 million competitors because they claim everybody in every country, but it's tiny. It's a drop in the bucket for clay targets. You have clubs all over this country shooting 10 million targets a year. I don't know. It's the tail wagging the dog a little bit in the United States.
So, Neil, take a deep breath. David has a question here. Said, okay, here's my question. If you guys had to summarize in one sentence the intended message that FITASC is trying to communicate with their letter, what would it be?
In one sentence?
That's what he says here, yeah.
I just think they're being pedantic in trying to cover themselves where they don't want to associate FITASC with our super sporting. But like Brett said earlier on, they're going to have something called club sporting, which I'm going to assume is going to be a similar format to super sporting. But again, why, like Brett said, if they're going to get more shooters at a Grand Prix because there's another event alongside it, why not do it? It's more money for them in their coffers. If you run a Grand Prix by itself, like Brett said, you'll get 150 shooters, if that. And it's a shame, it's a shame. FITASC Sporting has always been my favorite. I love setting FITASC targets. I've done probably 4 world championships now, shot it all over the world. I mean, I love it, especially the old style, not so much the new style, but old style FITASC. That's really the pinnacle of shotgun shooting as far as I'm concerned. And it's just a shame that they decide, we all dropped off. It's just it's just a shame that they want to monopolize everything. They seem to think that because they're an international organization, anything with world championships in it, they must own. Well, that's not true. I mean, we've got the World English coming up in April. We've got NSSA has the World Skeet in October. I mean, you don't need to be an international organization to run a world championship of anything.
I love FITASC. I've always shot as much FITASC as I could. I've gone from Illinois to South Carolina to shoot 200 FITASC birds and turn around and gone home. I've flown to shoots to regionals to shoot 100 FITASC birds on a Wednesday and flown home. If I wanted to get somebody interested in FITASC, a new shooter, or somebody who'd only shot English sporting, I would take them to shoot super sporting. It is a natural on-ramp to FITASC. It gets them 3 targets. It gets them the different trajectories. The similarities aren't there. It's a free mount game. It's shot from a stand. There's, it's a couple singles and a couple pairs. It's nothing like it. And I think a right-minded person would say it's an asset to FITASC sporting.
Yeah.
To answer David's question, if you had to summarize one sentence, I would like to remind you once again that by decision September 3rd, 2024, the FITASC Management Committee, which apparently is like the UN in power, considered that the so-called discipline supersporting is an illegal copy of the FITASC discipline parcours de chasse sporting. I mean, that's their take. That's the hill they're going to die on, among many other hills in history. What was David's second question?
Yeah, he's got another one here. It says, secondly, if you had to summarize in one sentence the stance of the NSCA in response to that letter, what would it be?
Pretty much just like whatever.
I mean, is it safe to say that obviously they're kind of cutting their nose off to spite their face with this kind of a thing, because you guys could easily just make FITASC go away, right?
I think the shooters always ultimately make the decision. Is a club going to want to have are more clubs or less clubs after this going to want to host a Grand Prix? We've hosted Grand Prix because nobody else wanted to have one. I mean, we've actually had Grand Prix because nobody else was going to have one that year. So we bite the bullet and host a Grand Prix and get the 150 shooters and, make or lose $11.
Yeah. And the NSCA response, is going to be, hey, we're going to keep doing what we're going to do. We're not going to be dictated to by, one single organization. We've got a good relationship with the CPSA. We're developing relationships with other associations from other countries. It really doesn't matter to us what FITASC does.
Every other FITASC event in the country that's not a Grand Prix is an NSCA FITASC event. It's, we do a 50 bird monthly or 250 bird monthlies with our monthly sporting shoots every month at our club, and a lot of clubs do the same thing. And, we'll continue to. We do a 50 bird super sporting too. We'll continue to as long as we want to, as long as the shooters want it.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's, one thing to look at too, from a club perspective is, the cost and the rotation times of FITASC, what it takes to put that event on. So, Chase said here, says, from a British perspective, what is the harm in having FITASC at our events? Like Rambo said, we shoot side events of 50 targets as warm up. I shot FITASC, I'm thinking he's supposed to say at the open here as a side, and it was fun, but long. So,
yeah.
I got another one here from, it says, FITASC is FITASC. That is why we love to compete in the discipline. Therefore, all FITASC rules and regulations should apply 100%.
I agree with that one.
Absolutely agree.
We got another one here from Steve Everett. What remains to be seen is if clubs everywhere will have the NADs that Mr. Brett had and send FITASC on their way. Chase got another one here. It says, I hear lots of shooters. The NSCA is trying to get away from rabbit targets and big shoots. Thoughts? I didn't hear that one. You guys heard that one?
No,
Never heard that.
no, never
No.
heard that. Not the case.
Well, Chase, if
You only hear that from the guys that miss the rabbit.
We're gonna call them Raboos now.
you're going to call them Raboos.
Right. Yeah. No, we just don't throw them on the ground anymore.
Yeah.
Chad, you're pointing at something. What are you doing there? Neil and Brett?
I was trying to point at Brett, but I'm backwards on the camera. But yes, that I think it's only people that bitches that can't hit them. Probably take a lesson.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, back to the FITASC thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky subject. There's, as a shooter, I love competing and I love shooting it. It does take a long time. I like new style FITASC better personally, just because of that reason. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't want to see it go away. I don't think anybody as a shooter or competitor wants to see it go away or clubs quit throwing it. Do you think there's an ultimate resolve, like, some kind of a middle ground that can be met, or do you think it's an uphill battle dealing with the FITASC organization?
I think it's going to need some sort of resolution. I don't think that the NSCA is going to bend on it a bit. What happens at the next a Grand Prix that's held with a large state shoot, which is often done.
Right.
I think we held a Grand Prix with a regional at Northbrook once. I can't remember. We had been, because I'm old, but so you have a big state shoot down in the southeast. Maybe you have 600 or 800 competitors, and they have a Grand Prix. Are they gonna squawk that the state shoot overshadows their Grand Prix? It's possible. It's likely even, depending on their frame of mind.
Brett, did you not throw a 200 target Grand Prix at World English in 19?
We overachieved, so yeah, quite possible. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, Brett, I thought it was either your North Central Regional or your the last U.S. Open you had. I thought you had a Grand Prix there.
U.S. Open, we had 100 bird new style.
Okay.
It was one of the first new styles at the regionals, which now they're kind of trying to require to get, a lot of people want to shoot FITASC. So if you can get 600 people through versus, 140, you go new style.
Yeah.
But new style, you need 600 shooters to make it worthwhile too. So there's a big gap there.
Yeah.
For a lot of shoots. So it's either go big or keep it tight. I mean, we're trying to do an event which really is the fairest format of FITASC, which is the traditional 75, 50 on Sunday. And that leaves people a lot of time to shoot another event.
Yeah.
They go shoot a couple hours a day. They want the Americans and the Brits, they want to shoot a lot of targets. It's a kind of a different world when you go to a FITASC shoot in Europe and they go shoot 25 birds and they have a couple beers and some food and they go out and shoot another 25 birds. And then, 20 hours later, you go do it again.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brett, in your experience, with running a club, I mean, would you say that most people go to a shoot like where you have FITASC in conjunction with other events? Would you say the majority of people are adding FITASC, to their shoot that weekend? Or would you say there's some diehard FITASC shooters that only come to shoot FITASC and don't shoot, sporting or 5-stand or any of the other stuff?
There's exactly 24 people that will come to a regional and only shoot the FITASC. And when we changed our qualifiers several years ago from the 200 bird FITASC events to the regional events, and we had the FITASC Grand Slam when they raised the prices to kind of outlandish rates for a few years. We determined that we're going to pick the best team. If we want to pick the best team, we're going to do it at the shoot with 600 good shooters instead of 140. So the regionals blew up the FITASC. They absolutely did, and the Grand Prix were left to, which is great, to smaller clubs that wanted to maybe make a name for themselves and things like that, or an add-on to another shoot. It blends in because there is so much off time. But people that go to a regional, they want to shoot 1,100 targets that week. They don't want to shoot 200 or 150. So you have to give them what they want.
I've got a question for you guys.
Yeah, Neil.
Talking about that, what do you think about having a separate classification for FITASC shooters?
You mean instead of just doing...
And like we did, we split off sub gauge, so they've got their own class classification system. I think we should do it for FITASC, because you've got there's some really good FITASC shooters that are not necessarily good sporting shooters. And I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning it. My old mate, Will Fennell, he's a far better FITASC shooter than he is a sporting shooter. And I think he would agree with that statement. If we had a separate classification, still Master AA down, but for FITASC only.
I think Well does better at the FITASC shoots because there's only 160 guys there.
Shots fired.
Will's a great sporting and FITASC shot. I'm kidding. He's my friend too.
Shots fired.
But I don't know. We can barely handle our own classification system.
Your time in the Peace Corps was wasted, Brett. That.
They're moving me to the UN.
Neil, to answer your question, I like it. I like the idea. The only thing I would ask is, do you think that would further complex things for a new shooter coming in to try and understand all the different classifications, or do you think it's just as simple as the subgauge stuff?
I don't think it does once people get used to it. I was looking the other day through Don's CPSA, and all of the disciplines that the CPSA administers, looks after, each discipline has its own classes. DTL, that's trap, skeet. Everything, Don, isn't it? Everything has got its own class.
Yeah, it has. But in all honesty, from the UK looking in, I would say your classification system makes a lot more sense. So the issue that you have here is that you could have someone who's treble A at sporting, goes and shoots and hasn't shot sport trap or our version of 5-stand, goes and shoots that, and they're going to be in C class. So which takes us back to where the show began, is that somebody shooting in the wrong class and someone who's treble A in sporting wins C class in sport trap by 22 targets or whatever. So
I think too, the opportunity to shoot FITASC is much less. There's a lot of people that are only going to be able to shoot 200 birds a year if they don't travel or something like that. I don't know if you'd have enough opportunity to get a valid classification out of it for a lot of people. For the people that are on the tour, as they say, yeah, no problem. But the guy in Nevada that maybe shoots it once a year at his state shoot or something's not going to get classified.
Yeah, that's a good point. So add them into the sporting side, and they're bound to get a number of targets, 300 or 500, so that they can be classified.
Right. I think the NSCA FITASC is maybe 5% of our targets shot, and that's been fairly stable, pretty flat for several years.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's about the same as 5-stand, and I think super sporting now is 7 to 8%. So I think that's the one that's growing. So it's not a big market really.
Yeah. Hey guys, we got a question here. I know I can't answer. It's an interesting question. Chris says he shot FITASC at the Jack Links, and they had enclosed elevated stands with deck wood platforms and wood railings. Is this in line with FITASC regulations?
Yeah,
it is. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's a good question.
I think the regulations just a 1 meter either square or round peg. I don't know that there's any reference to railings.
Okay.
And it kind of makes me think about what Neil brought up earlier at Game Unlimited, when perhaps the FITASC refs watched the super sporting, and I didn't pay attention to the super sporting at Game Unlimited, But up north there, Minnesota, Wisconsin, they'll often shoot sporting side events out of hoops.
Yeah.
And so maybe they saw the one place that that in 2024 was shooting super sporting out of hoops, and that maybe that's their perception of it.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I'll have to call Pete and ask him how many stands he had that shot out of hoops, because that would have saved him making cages, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And that's about the only place
I don't remember how many, but I have.
Yeah, Minnesota clubs, Caribou, Minnesota Horse and Hunt, and the Northwoods clubs have, quite often use hoops instead of stands at big shoots.
Yeah.
Chase has got a question here. He said, are the targets that much harder in FITASC versus sporting to justify the change? I don't know if you could say they're that much harder, but if you take like a trap tail target and you're shooting it from dismounted versus mounted, that automatically makes the same target harder.
Makes a trap target a lot harder. Neil does it to me all the time.
I think
not as much as Coach Gold did it at Nationals, though, Neil.
Yeah.
We'll fix that.
Yes, yeah, I know. I don't think the targets are that much harder, Jason. I think that they become harder because you're shooting the 3 singles.
Yeah.
So if and any good FITASC shooter will obviously digest what the single is doing because they know that it's going to be in a pair, whether it be a true pair or report pair.
Yeah.
I can always catch people out. I'm not worried about catching people out on the singles, but I'm going to catch people out on the report pairs or the true pairs. And I don't throw many true pairs in FITASC, mostly report pairs. Yeah. But it's easy. You can throw a target as a single where you know they're going to shoot it, and they're going to shoot it in the wrong place for the double. You follow me?
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. I mean, now that you say that, Neil, traditionally when I've shot, especially old style FITASC, you don't see that many true pairs, on a peg.
No.
Maybe one. So
one or two on a parkour is enough on an old style parkour, and 2 on a 3 peg new style, I think, is enough true pairs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I think that was one of the things about super sporting when it first started too. I remember, and the same thing in FITASC. Okay, I'm giving you singles. I'm going to make them real birds because you're getting 2 shots.
Yep.
And that was the super in super sporting. And then for quite a few years, it's super sporting became an overlay on sub gauge at some shoots, not necessarily good shoots. And then now it's just a 3-bird soft course. But I think it's come back around that I think the birds between super sporting and FITASC should be pretty similar, or can be pretty similar. And back to Neil with is FITASC harder? I mean, there's a lot of good FITASC shooters that maybe aren't as good at sporting because they haven't worked it. Because you can have a flaw in your game and get away with a couple singles and a pair.
True.
And not be able to repeat it 4 times. I mean, that's something I used to not even like English sporting because I wasn't very good at repeating it.
Yeah.
Until you get your skill set together, it's a lot easier to go out there and take a poke at a big bird.
Yeah.
1 time instead of 4 times.
That's very true.
It's an interesting conversation because Sean and Chad and I have had this conversation. It seems like whenever you're doing well at FITASC, you're usually your sporting game is lagging, or vice versa. It seems like you can either excel at one or the other. If you take Dr. David DeLue, who won the FITASC at the Nationals, his sporting scores weren't on par with how he performed. He still shot very well, but they weren't on par with the way he performed in FITASC. So it's definitely an interesting conversation, of the 2 disciplines and crafting yourself around one or the other.
Don, are you better at FITASC or sporting, Don?
I'm better at anything's got a menu. Definitely FITASC is better for me. FITASC super sporting, 5 stand. I can shoot that. It obviously suits my limited attention span, I guess.
I was going to say that's an ADD issue, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just had a quick look through my albums from Game Unlimited, World FITASC. There's not really a cage in sight anywhere, so yeah, I would imagine that could be part of what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't realize that. It was a good point, Brett.
Hey guys, Chris responded to what you guys were talking about, his question earlier. It says that's exactly what happened at the FITASC World Shoot. They saw hoops at the Super Sporting event, plus the similar type of menus.
So they thought then that Super Sporting was going to take over FITASC. That's what they were scared shitless, weren't they?
It appears that's what he's alluding
Yeah,
to here.
it's fear-based. There's no doubt about that.
Golly, all of this just because Pete Malloy. It's Pete Malloy's fault. He had hoops.
He's a cheap son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is. He had hoops down instead of cages on his Super Sporting, and FITASC
he's ruined it for all of us.
Sean, you're going to have to note that if you get a call from Pete Malloy tomorrow, don't answer it. So,
I'll just say, nope, never saw it.
Yeah. No, Pete's a great guy, and I thought he did a fantastic job at that shoot he held.
Yes,
it was a fun shoot.
Yeah,
he did.
He really did do
very
a
good
job.
shoot.
Hey,
I actually was squatted in front of Mr. Palinkas, and we had a lot of conversations. He didn't like the orange dome targets, and he didn't see them well. And I tried to explain to him that they do have a purpose, and maybe they're overused, but they do have a purpose in transitional backgrounds. And he was not buying that. And I think they went back the next week and canceled that too at their meeting, didn't they, Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we can put all this to rest if we just add a rule in our Super Sporting rules, say Super Sporting must be shot from a cage. That might have that FITASC people might go, thank God.
I think Rollins Brown might have added that rule into sporting as a result of one of the shoots up north with the hoops as well. And I think maybe the rule got watered down to there had to be restrictive posts if there was a chance of firing on someone or firing in an unsafe direction.
Yeah.
But a couple of posts might have looked like a stand as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's a big misunderstanding, and as Don said, something lost in the translation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way, it was a shitty way to go about it.
Yeah, and that letter as well, Brett. I mean, some of it is really quite offensive to me. Opening the door to title awards as the Northbrook Sports Club has done means allowing every club competition or village contest in the future to organize a continental or world shoot. Well, they're obviously not aware of our process of allocating shoots to different clubs. I mean, they don't understand it. I mean, it has to go through a bidding process. It goes before the EC, So, no, a village contest wouldn't get a Grand Prix or anything else, really.
No. As a matter of fact, we had suggestions to rename the event the Village Cup. We thought seriously about it. Instead, we named it the Northbrook Cup. I think too, you have to remember if you're shooting in continental Europe that when you go to a Grand Prix or a world event at those clubs, that's about all they can do there.
Yeah,
they're on a ridge. They're on the only unfarmable land in the village, or within 100 miles. It's up on a ridge and some their version of a wasteland. Unfarmable, and they're small. They're small clubs with, an owner and a couple guys, and that's all they can do. And then sometimes they can barely do it.
Yeah.
You've been there, you've done it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of clubs in Europe. I mean, the one in southern Germany, Dornsburg, that was about the biggest ground I think that I went to through Europe. Even when you go to, Lisbon, they had a lot of ground there, but that was away from the clubhouse. The one in Spain had a lot of ground because, again, that that was away from the clubhouse. That was out in the open. So, yeah.
The clubs themselves are small, though. They don't have, they don't have hundreds of members. They don't,
No.
They need to maybe take a visit to M&M and see how Anthony Matterings can
squeeze it in.
100 acres can squeeze in 2,000 people and 25 events. I mean, they need to be able to learn that.
Yeah, credit to Anthony. He throws a good tournament for sure. Chris has got a good point here. He said, at least in FITASC, you get certified referees. This makes the game more clean. And, Chase has commented here also that he says sporting needs certified refs as well. That's the one thing. You're not going to pull something over on a certified FITASC ref. I give him that. But I think
I talked to an American shooter, a very, very one of our best American shooters, that last year told me at the World FITASC he pre-mounted on almost every trap bird. I've seen, I'm not going to say who, I've seen in France at a World FITASC, a French shooter in front of me get called 4 no birds as he missed the same bird everybody shot until he hit it. It's not as clean as you think. We have target setters shooting their events and winning their events. They have people that are known cheaters as target setters. It's not that clean.
We have the best referees. We have the best referees, I think, Brett, in the UK. I mean, unless it's changed on in recent years because I haven't been back, but the British referees were top class, and they always have been, and the US referees, for FITASC. Now, sporting clays is a little bit different. We know that it's difficult. It's difficult to get people that want to be a referee. Our referees are proud of the job that they do. There's no doubt about that.
And I would echo that. In the UK, the FITASC referees, I think everybody has a lot of respect for them. And to be fair, whether you're a FITASC referee or you're a sporting referee, if it's something that you do on a regular basis, you're giving up your time for not a great deal of money to do something which isn't always easy, isn't always in the best of the weather. And if you get it wrong, then you're going to have a bunch of people moan at you. So, we're often, I think a lot of us are not grateful enough to the referees for what they do.
I'll agree with that. And the one thing that I'll throw out there about the refs is, when you have, that's why the perception is that FITASC refs are better because they're certified. That means they've been doing it for a while. Brett, you can attest this. When you're having a large event, it's hard to find enough people that want to sit out there all day and, whether it's on sporting or whatever it is, it's hard to find good help that really genuinely cares about what little they're doing. So
it's the hardest part of hosting an event. Everything else, the setting the targets, getting the shooters out there is all easy compared to making sure that your qualified pullers that you've trained actually show up. We schedule 20% more than we need. Everywhere you go there, it's the challenge.
Yeah. Sean and I have gotten in the habit of, when we get to a cage, the first thing we say is, hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. Show them some appreciation because it is a thankless job. And there are a lot of new people doing it everywhere we go because, like you said, Brett, it's the challenge is getting enough of them. And then you're having to train them, days before the event starts, and they've never done it before. So, it's I think that's why the perception's there that the FITASC refs are better. It's because they're certified. They've put time in to go through the class, and that's what they're going to do, on a regular basis.
Well, and you need to find 8 or 10 or 12 of them for an event, or 24 of them for 32 of them for a big event. And in the meantime, you need 90 sporting trappers for your side events and your main events. So you're gonna suffer some quality there for sure. But it's something I think everybody tries to do their best. Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
So I just want to give a shout out to for everybody attending World English in April. We've made some changes on the ground. We've changed the layouts. There's only one main event course on the main event road, which will be the yellow end. So the main events, one will be where the K Cup is, and one will be down where Super Sport in FITASC usually is, down on what we call 471. We've cut a lot of trees down. We've made little paths through some trees. I think you'll see a difference there. Michael's been, I don't know about blacktopping roads, but pouring concrete on roads where the Browning sign is, where that road was all eroded away. So I think we'll put on a good shoot, and we'll show, that everybody will be able to see sort of some of the changes that we've made, that we can put into use for nationals in October.
Awesome. That's really
awesome. That's cool, Neil.
Yeah, I love hearing that. So look at that, Sean Alley. You're going to have to sign up for the Worlds.
Look out.
No,
okay.
I love
it's 9:30. I've got to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't solve all the world's problems, but I think it was important to understand both sides of it, what was going on, and let people know. And I definitely appreciate all of you joining us. Neil, I know you got to go, but thank you very much, sir, for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure you all sign up for the World Super Sporting Clays Championship Labor Day. Go America.
Brett, thank you. I know you skipped your board meeting to be present here for us, and I appreciate it very much.
I appreciate missing the board meeting. Thank you.
Don, what's that?
Thanks, Chad.
See you, buddy. Don, we're gonna let you get to bed, Don.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, it's a little early now.
Yeah.
2:31.
It's so late and early over there.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon, Jason.
All right. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, guys. Been a pleasure. Been a real pleasure.
Well, Chad, this is probably the quietest I've ever seen you, man, but I appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you coming in. I know you had to skip a meeting yourself, so I got everybody out of meetings today. So,
well, you know my feelings on the French. I don't like French because of the BMX history that I have with them all. So yeah, fuck them if they're going to be like this. Sorry, Don, but I love FITASC. It's one of my favorite games in the world since I started. I got 2 state titles in FITASC, and I got multiple number 2s, and I love it. And my first All-American team was a FITASC team. So I dig the game. I just don't like the politics and the underbelly of it, because it hurts clubs like Brett's. It hurts, events that could be absolutely amazing and bring a lot of people from all over the world. And, I can just see something like this. Okay, now somebody's not going to go overseas, right? And they're not going to want to participate because it's not a World Cup, or vice versa, right? So I just think, take the blinders off, guys. This isn't trap, and open your eyes to what's going on. And, there's, however many people, what is it, Jason? Like 41 million people shoot a shotgun or something like that. And it's like, 3,500 of them, 35,000 of them are NSCA members, and 3,500 are competing at all times. I mean, it's not that many people. And I can guarantee you FITASC is a hell of a lot smaller than that. So, I was just talking to Brett Irons. You remember those? Remember him, Brett? Brett and Irons from Australia. He's, they shoot primarily low gun FITASC style events down there, and it's pretty much super sporting and down in Australia. So, I don't know what.
Yeah, they have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and they get big numbers, and you can. I know because I work at a club, and anytime we throw a super sporting event, they're packed. You get to shoot more ammo. The club makes more money because they're buying more ammo. Targets are more fun. I don't know. I just super sports always been that jam. Yeah, the variety is cool. If you got ADD, or if you're like, Dave Radulovic, it gives you something new every time you pull the trigger. So that's cool. But yeah, it's a bummer, that they have to take it to this level, because from a professional side, you're going to get all the pros, as I will quote it. I can't see my fingers, but quote the pros are, this is a very coveted title to have is a world title in FITASC. And maybe that's why it's coveted, is because it is such a niche type of an event. And they keep such a lockdown on all that. But I absolutely, I went to the Worlds last year and, I did all right, but nobody made any money there. I mean, it was completely bullshit, but I get it. I understand it, but you're trying to make a living in shooting and, why not put some money up? You want to make FITASC huge, put as much money as they're getting in all this other stuff we do. And FITASC will be awesome. So
got 35,000 added money to the World Super Sporting. You can have a shoot and pass out some money. You don't have to keep it all.
Exactly. And that's my point exactly. It's like, look at what you just left on the table. Peace out, and that sucks because, again, there's a lot of people I know from overseas that may or may not come over because of it, because they're chasing World Cup points. I mean, I remember when I got in the game, I loved watching all the World Cup, just looking online and finding where the World Cup was and who's winning and who's kicking butt, and I've always wanted to be on that stage. Never got the chance. So whatever on that. But yeah, it is definitely the F1 of the game, but they should probably try to run it like something else. So that's my 2 cents.
Good deal. Don, we're going to see you back over here soon.
Yeah, I'd be back over for Texas State and World English. Looking
Good deal.
forward to that.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to Texas State, so let's get together and have a beer one night. Brett, are we going to get to see you away from Northbrook anytime soon? Are you traveling?
Yeah, I'm going to shoot a little bit early this year. We get busy this summer. I'm going to go to Tucson in March, going to the World English in April, and probably the Northeast Regional in May. So I'll be around a little bit.
Good deal. Well, you're more than welcome to come join us in December. I know the one here in April is probably not going to work, but we're having a Dead Pair Blast down at Rocky Creek. Jake's planning all kind of goodies for that. And if you want to break away from everything and get away from that cold weather in Chicago in December, come on down and shoot some clays with us, man. We'd love to have you.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Let's go just go break clay targets with a shotgun and not worry about who owns it.
I love it. Sean,
Right on.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. I know you got your hands full with work and stuff, so appreciate you being able to sneak out and join us for one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good coming back in here. So, like I said, we'll be popping in and out when we can. So, enjoyed it. Didn't forget it. Just like riding a bicycle.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night, and we'll do this again soon.
Great.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much. Good night, bye.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, the mark of performance, and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Special thanks to the following sponsors: Atlas Traps, Ranger Performance Eyewear, Rhino Chokes, Long Range LLC, Gun and Trophy Insurance, Taconic Distillery, Score Chaser, and Clay Range Design Works.